History and Professor Agit Vibrani.
Every week you could expect a great album from the Beatles or Stones or Dylan and a great movie.
And the movies. I mean, certainly the music and the movies, much more, actually, much more than literature at that time. So certainly English literature at that time, to my mind, was not so exciting. I mean, there were wonderful writers. There was Doris Lessing and Muriel Spark and, you know, so on. But there were American writers that I was very attracted to, like the Fabulists, like Thomas Pynchon and so on. And European and South American writers and so on. But English literature, not so much. But the movies and the music. I mean, it's very hard now to tell people what it was like when the movies that are now thought of as the great classics of the sound cinema were just that week's new movie. You know, this week there's this Italian film called La Dolce Vita.
Yes, right.
You know, next week there's this French film called Pierrot le Fou. The week after that, there's this Spanish film called The Exterminating Angel.
Yeah, right.
The week after that, there's this Swedish film called The Seventh Seal. The week after that, there's this Indian film called Apur Sansar.
Yeah.
The week after that, there's this Japanese film called Rashomon.
Right.
And these were the new movies. You know, it was mind-blowing to go to the cinema.
First annual IAAC Lit Festival. Please share with us that.
Yeah, it's an interesting panel because it says it's about from the page to the celluloid. So it's about writing to actually making a film. And I wrote Firak, this film that I directed in 2008. And I also, and both I was a co-writer. I also wrote a play called Between the Lines.
Correct.
And
this last week, right? Yes.
I showed it at the Museum of Moving Images in New York, and I also showed it at Yale, where I'm doing a 4-month fellowship. Amazing. So yeah, so it's sort of going through that journey. And I think Meera Nair is going to talk about probably Reluctant Fundamentalists and probably Vanity Fair. So it's going to be an interesting panel, I think.
Amazing. So tell me how difficult it is to actually write that and show it on screen and also enact it in a way, which I believe you do as well, right?
Well, in Between the Lines I did that. I wrote, I directed, I acted. It was a bit much. I think both Firak and Between the Lines, I'm not a writer like all these great writers who sort of can say they are writers, right? But I'm more sort of, I by default became a writer. I felt passionately and strongly about these subjects, and I kind of wanted to express them in my own way, and I've tried to sort of clean it up and all. But I think when you really know what you want to say, I think it also sort of flows.
Sure. And also the panels that we have, we'll be having established writers as well as emerging writers. You'll see a lot of student writers in a way. So what do you, for example, if a writer wants to become a director or a filmmaker and at the same time they're writers, what path do you suggest? Do both at once, or?
No, I think a lot of directors also like to write their own story, because in a way it's a journey that begins with the idea and the way you want to express it, and you start seeing it. Like when I write, in a way I'm also seeing it on screen. I'm thinking, I'm also putting on my director's hat as well. Both have been by default, so I don't fully sort of feel comfortable claiming either of the titles. But I think for young directors, there are I've worked with a lot of directors who are completely new, first-time directors, and the reason they are able to in fact do the film is because they are so close to the subject. I mean, when I did Firak, I had not assisted anybody. I'm not a huge film watcher. You know, I didn't do a course in it, nothing. So I think I did it, I was able to direct because I had written it, because I was close to the subject. I kind of knew what I wanted to see on screen. And that's why I think writing and direction somewhere does go hand in hand. Yeah.
I had a very strange experience, and I don't know if this happens to you. I went and saw a Shakespeare play for the first time, which I hadn't read before, and I understood only half of it.
Yeah.
Which one? I realized Pericles, which may not even actually be his.
Well, the first two acts are not his. The first, no. Shakespeare, I mean, it's clear that he may have written the structure of it.
Right.
But the first two acts are probably written by John Gower. And there's this moment at the beginning of Act 3 when Pericles is standing on the seashore and there's a storm. And line 1 of Act 3 is Pericles says, "O God of this great vast, rebuke these surges."
Yes.
And you think, whoa, Shakespeare just showed up. You know?
Right.
It's just extraordinary because the first two acts are okay. and then the writing just goes vroom, like that. And you know, the question is, did Shakespeare know he was Shakespeare?
We are here with the Salman Rushdie. Thank you so very much for taking time with us. Tell me your relationship again with Arun Shivdasani and IAAC.
Well, I've just been around since very near the beginning of it, you know, and I've really admired the way that she and her remarkable group of volunteers that she has have just raised this from being a sort of small, penniless organization to being really a very significant one, you know, and I think the film festival became important, you know, gradually, and I think it's great that she's now trying to add on a literature event, so I was happy to come and support that. But I think what's interesting about this weekend is that it's a really very good representation of the work that's being done, because it's not only people who've been around a long time like me. It's a lot of young people starting out. It's a lot of people in mid-career, and also it's many different kinds of writing. It's not all literary fiction. There's also genre fiction and so on. So I think it's a genuine, you know, portrait or snapshot of what's happening in Indian American writing. And I mean, you know, I hope lots of people come.
And can you share something about your particular section as well?
Well, I mean, I've just finished a novel, but I'll talk to you about it next year when it's out.
Okay.
I just never talk about unpublished work.
Sure, sure. Also, a quick thing, you said something about a particular language that you've either invented or come up with called Hug Me. Can we hear about that, please?
Well, Hug Me is just, it's just an acronym for the languages spoken in Bombay, you know. So you put together Hindi, Urdu, Gujarati, Marathi, English.
Okay.
You get Hug Me. Okay, which is sort of, and everybody speaks that kind of weird mixture of all those languages.